Something led you here, not just coincidence, not just curiosity. Something deeper in you is ready to remember, because you've been walking around with the weight of a life you never chose, carrying timelines you didn't consent to, performing versions of yourself that were never yours to begin with. You've done everything right, but nothing feels right anymore. You're not imagining that heaviness. You're not making up that pressure. What you're feeling is the crumbling of the false self, because something massive is trying to break through. Now listen closely, you're not broken. You're breaking open. Everything that's been collapsing lately isn't punishment. It's the universe clearing room. You're not losing your life, you're leaving a layer of yourself behind. Can you feel it? That strange ache in your chest that isn't sadness, but isn't joy either. That spiritual tension, it's what happens when your current reality can't contain your next becoming. Nobody tells you this, but most people don't make it past this stage. They interpret this inner shift as a breakdown instead of a breakthrough. They numb it, avoid it, suppress it. But not you. Because if you're here, you're not just chosen, you're ready. This is the edge, the sacred in-between, where your old self can no longer lead, but your new self hasn't fully arrived yet. It's terrifying, but it's divine. So take a breath with me. This is the part where the lies fall off. You were never too much. You were always too rare. You weren't wrong. You were right, just too early for the people around you to realize it. They didn't see your magic because they weren't ready for it. They labeled it weird. They called it intense. They said, "You've changed." And they were right. But listen, you didn't change randomly. You rose. You grew beyond the blueprint that kept you small. And now the old frequencies are kicking and screaming to keep you from leaving. Have you noticed how much resistance has shown up lately? The old friends returning just when you've decided to move on. The jobs or habits you swore you outgrew suddenly calling your name again. The voice in your head whispering that you're too ambitious, too different, too alone. That's not coincidence. It's spiritual gravity, trying to pull you back into what you've outgrown. But now hear this. It's not your job to go back and fix what couldn't meet you. It's your job to keep walking forward. You didn't come this far just to second-guess the knowing in your soul. You didn't survive the past just to surrender to it again. You're on the edge, and it's sacred. And yes, it's scary, but also, it's exactly where you're meant to be. Now say it aloud, or type it in the comments if you feel called. I reclaim my time and energy and space. Welcome. Today we're going to reveal why your breakthrough has been so delayed, and why it's finally about to arrive. But first, let's unpack the real reason you felt so misunderstood, so out of place, even around people who claim to love you. Here it is. Because you were never meant to blend in. You came to this world as a frequency disruptor, as a spiritual technology carrying a vibration that didn't match the matrix. That's why everything around you tried to mute it. That's why life kept throwing you into chaos you didn't cause. That's why people projected fear onto your light and called it too much. You've spent years translating your soul into a language others could accept. But now the universe is asking you to stop translating. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be powerful. You're not here to be tolerated. You're here to transform. So why are you still waiting for permission to take up space? Why are you still second-guessing your gifts? Do you really think a soul like yours was sent here just to pay bills and be liked? Come on, your energy has been poking holes in the simulation for a while now. But only recently have you started to notice how fast the illusions collapse when you speak truth. You are a frequency disruptor, and the Matrix is terrified of what you remember next. That's why this message found you. You needed a mirror. You needed confirmation. This is it. You're on the edge, and the reason you haven't broken through yet is because you've been trained to doubt the moment it's finally your turn. You've been taught to fear your own power, to think that survival is the same thing as safety, that playing small equals protection, that waiting is wisdom, that being humble means shrinking your light. Now listen closely. That is spiritual gaslighting. Nobody tells you this, but the world you were raised in was built to program submission, not self-mastery. It wasn't designed to activate you, it was designed to drain you. That's why most people around you, though good at heart, are stuck in mental loops, surviving systems they never questioned, replaying beliefs they didn't choose. But you've started to see through it. And because of that, you've started to outgrow people you thought were permanent. You've started questioning jobs, environments, relationships, even dreams you once prayed for. Because something in your soul knows none of it fits anymore. Here's what most people won't say out loud. It's not always trauma keeping you stuck. Sometimes it's loyalty to outdated versions of you, the you that needed approval, the you that believed love had to be earned, the you that played roles just to be accepted. But that version of you is dissolving. And the more it dissolves, the more uncomfortable everything gets. Ever wonder why your emotions have been on overload lately? It's because your body is catching up with a frequency your spirit has already accepted. Your nervous system is recalibrating. You're not losing it, you're leaving it behind. Nobody tells you how intense awakening feels physically. The fatigue, the brain fog, the sudden burst of energy followed by hours of stillness. The purging of things and people you once couldn't live without. All of it is real, and all of it is sacred. Now here's the question most won't ask, but you need to. What are you still holding on to that only ever existed to delay you? That story, that trauma, that label? You didn't come this far to carry dead weight into your breakthrough. You've already shifted, but your environment hasn't caught up yet. And that gap between who you are now and what still surrounds you, that's what feels like stuckness. But you're not stuck. You're just stabilizing. That strange resistance you're facing, that repeating obstacle that shows up right before you rise, it's not random. That's your old identity trying to negotiate for survival. It says, don't speak too loudly. Don't trust your vision. Stay who they think you are. But here's your power move. Don't argue with the voice, just override it. The old identity isn't evil, it's expired. And like anything that's reached its end, it will throw tantrums before it lets go. Now breathe. You didn't come here to beg for a breakthrough, you came here to embody the frequency that bends reality. Do you feel that pressure in your chest again? That's not anxiety. That's the signal. That's your inner compass pointing toward a timeline your mind can't comprehend yet. But your soul recognizes as home. Nobody tells you this, but chosen ones often confuse impatience with intuition. You've felt for so long that something massive was on its way. But you've been trained to think that just because it hasn't come yet, it must not be real. That's a lie. The delay was never denial. It was design. Because the version of you who first prayed for this breakthrough wasn't yet the version strong enough to sustain it. But now you are. You didn't just go through all that pain to collapse now. You're in the final stretch before liftoff. And most people won't see it until it's done. They won't believe you until it manifests. But that's okay, because your soul didn't need their confirmation. It just needed your permission. So give it. Give yourself permission to stop explaining and start ascending. To stop proving and start embodying. To stop shrinking and start showing up like your future self already exists. Because they do. And in the higher realms, that version of you is already walking in the breakthrough. And what you're feeling now, it's the frequency catching up. Say it with me again. I reclaim my time and energy and space. Now let's talk about what happens when the shift starts showing up in your reality. Because as soon as you begin aligning with the version of life you were meant to live, not the one you were taught to accept, something strange happens. People change. Some fall away, others turn cold. Some even come back, but only to test if you've really grown. And it can feel like betrayal. But listen closely. It's not betrayal, it's a vibrational mismatch revealing itself. Nobody tells you this, but elevation creates energetic tension. The moment you start ascending, it activates every unhealed part in the people still attached to your past self. They don't hate you. They just don't recognize you anymore. Why? Because your frequency broke the unspoken contract. The one where you kept yourself small so they could feel safe. The one where you agreed not to outgrow them. The one where you played quiet, dim, modest, so they could remain unchallenged. But here's the truth, you don't owe anyone the version of you that was created just to keep the peace. Your expansion is not disrespect. Your glow-up is not an attack. It's just time. And now you're starting to realize something. They didn't walk away because you did something wrong. They walked away because you stopped doing the things that kept you stuck. Now pause and really ask yourself this. What version of me am I still performing? Just to not lose people who already left. If that question triggered something, let it. Because it means you're ready to stop betraying yourself in the name of loyalty. It means you're ready to let your past know you're not coming back. Now here's the emotional pivot no one teaches. When people shift away, when support dries up, when the familiar feels foreign, that's not proof that you've lost the path. It's confirmation you're on it. Because most chosen ones must walk through a season of sacred isolation before their breakthrough becomes public. You're being recalibrated, refined, tested in silence, because what's coming next won't allow room for old patterns. You were never crazy, you were just early. You didn't fit in because you were meant to break the mold. And listen, it was never your job to make everyone understand. It was your job to stay aligned, even when misunderstood. You don't need mass approval, you need resonance. You need divine connection, not convenient company. So if you've felt rejected lately, if people have disappeared, if the phone got quiet, if the invitations stopped, good. That's not punishment, that's preparation. Because the next level of your journey doesn't come with cheerleaders, it comes with clarity. And in that clarity, you'll finally realize what left your life was never supporting your expansion. It was stalling it. What hurt you wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to break your attachment to what's beneath you. Now breathe that in, let it settle into your bones. Because here's the real turning point. You're not grieving people. You're grieving the identity that needed them. And that identity, it's dissolving for a reason. Your future doesn't need it. Your destiny can't carry it. Your soul won't allow it. And right now, every uncomfortable emotion you feel is not a setback. It's a signal. A message from the part of you that's already living the breakthrough, whispering, keep going, you're almost there. Say it again, I reclaim my time and energy and space. Because this world needed you to forget, until now. So what happens when you get to this point? This tipping point? This strange moment in your life where everything feels fast and nothing feels fully formed? You wake up and there's this energy, like something's moving just beneath the surface, rearranging the scenery of your life. And you can't quite put your finger on it, but your spirit knows. You feel it deep in your chest, like your soul is standing up taller, preparing to meet a future you haven't even seen yet. That's divine acceleration. And if you've made it this far, if this message hasn't just resonated, but unlocked something, it means you're standing right in front of it. Listen closely now. Everything you've prayed for, visualized, cried for, and released under the moonlight is being rushed into your life. Not because you forced it, not because you manipulated reality, but because you finally aligned with it. You didn't chase, you didn't beg. You became, and that shift changed everything. See, people think manifestation is about getting what you want, but it's not. It's about becoming who you need to be. So what's meant for you has no choice but to arrive. You changed your inner wiring, you stopped leaking energy. You cut the soul contracts that were only feeding your wounds. You stopped explaining your worth and started embodying it. You didn't lose the old life, you outgrew it. And now the universe is catching up to your new frequency. Let me say it clearly. You're not stuck. You're stabilizing. You're not alone. You're being aligned. You're not lost. You're being positioned. This is what it feels like when the next version of you is close enough to touch, but still sacred enough to require faith. Now ask yourself one last question. Can I let myself be this free, even if it terrifies them? Because the truth is, not everyone will understand your shift. Not everyone will clap for your breakthrough. Not everyone will survive your evolution. But you will, because you were built for this. You were designed for this level of breakthrough. It was encoded into your being before you ever took your first breath. So when things fall apart, smile. When people ghost you, release. When nothing makes sense, anchor, because what's coming will. The love, the clarity, the stability, the opportunities, the right circle, the calling that actually lights you up. It's already yours. Your job now is to protect the space it's entering. Let me say this louder, you're not becoming the chosen one. You were always chosen, and now you're right on time. Subscribe if you want more messages like this, straight from source, because the deeper truths, we speak them here.